Welcome to another episode of Magic, Mystery, and Medicine. My amazing guest today is Vanessa Backlund, and I have just had the most incredible treatment from Vanessa that I have had in a very, very long time. Thank you so much for that work. I don't know if you can tell that I'm glowing. Everything feels a little bit tighter. My feet are singing. Frankie was there with us, keeping us company. Can you please describe what it is that you just did for me? How would you describe that?
Well, it was a combination of half an hour of foot reflexology.
Which was incredible.
So I tapped into all your organs and your glands, muscles, your joints. Basically through your nervous system, I get to touch every part of your body from your feet to bring you back into balance.
And I feel balanced.
Yes. So then I added on the Access facelift, which another half an hour service, that anything that came up from the feet, I could release from your head.
Right.
Through your subconscious. It uses some body processes and things like that. So it's kind of multi-level healing where you're going into the cell level, the molecular level, your fascia level, some of your muscles and your bones and everything.
Yes.
And actually your subconscious. So anything that's kind of blocking you from moving forward with your life, that it releases that to give you just ease with life and lift the stuff off your shoulders that you've been carrying around.
Yeah.
And just kind of get back to balance.
Back to balance. Back to basics. It was so amazing. And I really wasn't entirely sure what to expect. I have some concept of access bars. I have some idea about reflexology and feet work, especially the feet work, because that's what we do in intuitive energy massage as well, and the foot chakra massage. What I really loved was the way that you were working on my feet. You were getting into every little nook and cranny, and you were finding those spots that had me just about bolting off the chair, or not the chair, but it's like a slidey zero gravity chair. So I'm up floating off the ground. It was quite spectacular what you were finding. And then what was really interesting for me, and I didn't get a chance to say this when you were doing the treatment. Over the last couple of weeks, I've been doing these interviews with other healers in our community, and just like with you, I get to experience your work first, and then we get to share it with the audience from here. And the person who I was with yesterday, I went to see him last week. His name is Maximilian Wade, and he does it's like a technology that scans the vital organs and the systems, emotional, energetic, physical, in the body, picks up all kinds of amazing information. And what you were finding in my feet absolutely corresponded with what the scan picked up of what were my body's priorities right now, which were also what showed up in my aura reading that I had done last weekend in the class that I teach, the Confident Healer class. We bring a woman down from Duncan. Her name is Mary and she does aura readings. So over the last week and a half, I've had 3 different kinds of healing treatments, all of which are demonstrating the same areas of priority, the same areas of information.
That's awesome how everything kind of connects. On different levels, but it's still telling the same story.
That's right. It's still the same information. And then all of it confirms my own intuition, my own knowing, because we all have that, right? That little voice in the back of our head that's saying, hey, you should eat more greens, or get more sleep, or go for a walk.
Exactly.
And how often do we actually listen to those little voices?
Very rarely, actually. When you think about it, it's like, oh yeah, when was the last time I did that?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think especially as healers, I mean, this is something that we were talking about during the treatment, and it was something that I've really been thinking about as I teach other people to become healers. What do we do for ourselves?
Exactly.
That is our own self-healing.
And it doesn't have to be something big either. It can be just something really small that you do just for yourself.
That's right. Exactly. Well, I would love to hear a little bit more about your own healing journey and what it is in your life that brought you to becoming a healer and doing this work for other people.
Well, for me, it was more moving. I've been a bit of a gypsy most of my life, so I
Mhm.
picked up little tricks of the trade wherever I've gone.
Yeah.
And I think I've always had that healing spirit. I've
Mhm.
got into like different companies with different juices and things like that on my journey.
Okay.
And then I moved here about 7 years ago, and one of my friends said, it's like, well, you should try access bars. So I'm like, okay, why not? You know, and I never dreamt that it would be something for my future that I could implement into my life, because it gave me so much ease and peace and be able to handle things better. And
Right.
so then about 7 years ago, I moved here, I said, and then my back fell apart shortly thereafter.
Oh, wow.
So then it was, okay, now I have to tap into myself as well. It's like, do I do surgery? Do I not do surgery? But I believe medical and alternative are compatible in a lot of ways as well. And they all have their place.
That's right.
And that's kind of how I didn't learn what I needed to the first time. So then a couple of years ago, I had another back surgery. So I'm like, all right, I got to change something massively. And my friend says, well, reflexology. That's something you can do sitting. It's back friendly.
Right.
Why not?
Back friendly for the practitioner.
Exactly.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's why I went into that versus other healing modalities that are harder on your body. So it's kind of, you have to think of longevity. It's like, okay, I could do this for many years.
Right.
And then through the journey of learning the anatomy and going through the chronic pain and the numbness and just how reflexology actually has healed my body as well. I do it every week just to keep my nerves, because I was numb for 2 months, 3 months from my waist down. So I had to rebuild all my nerves.
Wow.
And I took the 4-day class for reflexology, the in-class part of the program. And after the second day, and we were doing reflexology 2 or 3 times a day, my leg actually come back alive. And I'm like, why is my leg so sore? And it's like, I can actually feel it. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Because when you're numb, you can't feel anything. It's like a dead leg. You have to physically or mentally, okay, leg, move. So that's kind of how I got into it. And and you bring into people with chronic pain and back injuries. So I've been there.
Yeah.
Not being able to sleep and having the nerves, and so just everything kind of happens for a reason, for the good. I always believe everything's for good.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
I agree.
yeah.
So, okay, so your own healing journey was this experience, and that's extreme. Two back surgeries is extreme.
Yeah.
That's not just, not that anything is just. That's something very specific. When you think about the energetic or the emotional reason behind why your body would manifest that, what's the first thing that you know it was from?
Well, basically the lack of support of friends and family and finances.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 psychological parts to it that I found out during it. And it's like, who knew? And then you look at other people and their struggles that they're having, and kind of like,
it gives you an insight, doesn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like it's fascinating how it isn't all physical. Then also, like through Access, they say that 98% of your thoughts, feelings, emotions are not even yours. Yeah. And for me, being a healer and not knowing it my whole life, I've been in pain my whole life. Thinking back, it's like, maybe that wasn't even mine.
That's a profound thought, isn't it?
Yeah. Even I can walk in the gym and I can get a sore knee within the first 3 minutes, and I'm not even doing anything yet.
Right.
So I'm like, wow, that was a huge awareness of how just to return it and say, not mine.
I love that.
I don't need it.
Yeah. So I have a whole process that I work with actually for helping people return those things that aren't theirs, that they've been carrying for other people. How do you go about doing it?
I just basically return to sender with consciousness attached.
I like that, return to sender. That's great.
Yeah. Not real, not mine.
Right.
Pod POC. From the point of creation to the point of disruption. Return it with any imprinting or anything like that.
Yeah.
it seems so easy, but most of the time you don't even think about it, right? It's like,
That's right. We go through life
Yeah.
shouldering these burdens.
exactly.
And oftentimes the little voice in the back of our head, if we were to stop and really listen to it, we'd recognize that it isn't ours.
Yeah.
It belongs to someone else. It belongs to a parent or a teacher
Yeah.
or someone we've admired somewhere along the way.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that I teach it to people is that basically, as you go through your life, the people around you will give you things that are theirs in the hopes that you'll carry it for them.
Exactly.
And often we carry these things from childhood.
Mm-hmm.
Our own parents' failings, our own parents' lack of self-confidence or lack of self-worth gets projected onto us as children. And as children, we don't have the tools or the capacity to recognize that that's what's happening. And because we're little kids and we love our parents and we just simply want to be loved and accepted unconditionally, that just becomes part of how we operate in the dynamic of the family is, okay, I'll take on the title of stupid or dumb or
The
not good
roles that
enough
we
or the
play
rules
and-
or all of those things. Yes, and it's not until we're an adult and something happens to us usually, some kind of wake-up call where we start to unpack all of this stuff and realize, none of that actually fits me because it's not mine in the first place.
Well, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Or I had a lady explain it as everyone has a lane. That we're our journey, our lane that we're going in.
Yeah.
And then we see somebody else doing something, could be in business or a relationship or whatever, and we're like, oh, we like that, but it's actually not our lane.
Oh, what a great
But
analogy.
we're trying to be or try to do it their way instead of doing it our way.
Yeah.
It's that whole comparison, competition thing that just to get out of that competition and judgment.
Yes.
And just be you. And if you're just being you, you can change a lot of things.
That's right.
Because you're authentic.
That's right. That's exactly it. And all of this work that we do, our own self journey as healers, the work that we must do on ourselves, on our own story, I believe, before we can really show up and be an effective healer for others.
Exactly.
It's all part of that, that ability to understand who we are, where we came from, and what our direction is, based solely on us, as opposed to all the other people. And it's one of the reasons why I've been inviting people to come onto my podcast, other healers, because it really matters to me that we're in a spirit of collaboration and cooperation, and that we're recognizing and acknowledging each other, instead of in a place of competition and feeling like, that's my client. You can't have my client, that's my client.
Exactly.
As if we're going to run out of clients.
Exactly. There's a lot of heads and there's a lot of feet around.
That's right.
I don't need them all.
No. Exactly. And as I was just explaining earlier, having just done in the last last 10 days, 3 very different modalities.
Yeah.
Mary Jane doing auras isn't going to be doing reflexology like you're doing. She's doing it her way, you're doing it your way, Maximilian's doing it his way, all my students are doing it their own ways. There will always be someone who's going to fit with your story and the way in which you are offering healing work for them that's going to be different from me.
Oh, exactly.
And if as healers what we truly want is to make a difference in the world and help people see themselves, then we have to get out of the way of each other and work with each other as opposed to in competition with each other.
Yeah, it's massive.
And we were talking about that too during the treatment around building bridges between mainstream medicine and alternative or metaphysical medicines.
I think it's slowly coming together. Baby steps.
I think what a lot of people forget is how young the medical system actually is. Doctoring, the way that it's represented in mainstream medicine, is less than 150 years old.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, think about the first medical schools that male doctors went to because women were not allowed in them back in the mid to late 1800s. That kind of structure of teaching medicine was very new at the time, because before that it had really been, it had been in the villages, it had been the medical people, it had been the shamans and the witches and the people who were in the land and knew the plants and understood what the medicine was of the plants.
Yeah.
And through a series of unfortunate events, the Inquisition being one of them, a lot of that knowledge got lost. literally burnt up in smoke. And so then it's like we've been scrambling for the last 300 years to remember what we'd forgotten about our own capacity to heal our bodies and our own body's capacity to heal. And what's interesting to me is that in alternative medicine, at least in my experience, I would say 80% of practitioners are women. Have you noticed that?
I have noticed that actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in mainstream medicine, although it is much more equal now, and in Canada I think there are actually slightly more women statistically than men are taking medicine, like becoming doctors.
Yeah.
But in the specialty fields like surgery, it's still majority men.
Okay.
Women are mostly, in that capacity, nurses, and the
Yeah.
men are the doctors. But it's changing. There's some male nurses now,
Yeah.
and you've got lots more female doctors.
But in a lot of ways it works with their strengths as well, right? Where in surgery it's very black and white. Do you do this procedure? Where it might be going into the men's strengths versus like the women have it as well, but it all depends on the personalities.
It does depend on the personalities, and I think
Yeah.
if given equal opportunity and equal mentoring right from the beginning as
Exactly.
children, the playing field would be a lot more equal. Because it's interesting, as soon as you talk about surgery being very, very precise, I suddenly see all these women stitching these incredibly intricate tapestries.
Exactly. So they have the skills as well, right?
Exactly.
But they just haven't chosen it.
Or it hasn't been presented to them
Exactly.
in a way that they can access it.
Yeah.
So what I find interesting then about alternative healing is how accessible it is for women to do this work and to earn money doing this work, for this to be their work.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's I don't have an opinion on it either way. It's an observation that I've made over the years of this is interesting. Why are most of my clients women ready to do their work, to dive deep into their own story, their own wounding, right? In my private practice, that's the work that we do. We do trauma, we do PTSD, we do sexual abuse, we do it all. We get down to the depth of those stories and do the healing work around them. A few men, a handful, maybe 5% of my clientele over 12 years have been men willing and ready to do that same work for themselves.
That's a lot of the healing from within. It's not typically the easy way to go.
It is not at all easy.
Opening up those doors and making change, and it's not even just change for one generation. It could unravel for generations as well. That just releases this whole new dimension amongst the family dynamics.
Yes.
And to change going forward as well, because this universe needs a little unraveling.
Yes, it does. It does.
One person at a time, right?
Yeah. So here's this other thing that's just coming into me now. Is that as we're looking at this pattern. Yeah. So if most of my clients are women who are ready and willing to do deep dives into their healing work, and along the way they realize they've always been healers. Yeah. But the only route to becoming a doctor was not necessarily open to them or as easy for them to attain. But now they're at a place in their lives where they're doing their own personal work. They're having this realization, oh my gosh, I could do what you're doing. Right?
Exactly.
So many of my clients are sitting on the sofa going, I want to do what you do now.
Yeah, exactly.
And
contribute to
contribute back to society in a way that is really meaningful, and also that they can make a living out of. They're the ones that become my students quite often, actually.
Oh, exactly.
And if and when, let's say when, more men start stepping into that challenge of doing their healing work, would some of them then become alternative healers as well? I wonder. Yeah. It would be interesting to see
Interesting to see how that would just shift.
Yeah. Because of the men that I know in our community who are doing healing work of an alternative nature, they tend to be the men who have done their work. Yeah. Like their own personal work. They've had their crises, they've had their health crisis, they've had their wake-up call, and they've decided there's a gentler way to be in the world than the way in which they were brought up to be. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm wondering, you were sharing with us before we started before we started rolling that you did a lot of work up north in various camps as a cook. And I'm curious, it's just interesting the way the conversation's flowing, what your observation was of the masculine in that kind of environment. Is there anything that you noticed in particular about men in general?
Well, there's definitely a testosterone overload. I was usually the only girl, right? So I tend to be one of the boys
Right.
when in that situation, right?
Yeah.
So over my years, as I've worked mainly with men, so now this is my journey of learning how to develop my feminine side. Because my masculine side is my dominant side.
Right.
So the going into women's groups and things like that is not a comfort zone. I can go into a bar, watch football with the boys and it's all good, right? So it's interesting how the healers are all women. And now I've chosen to go into that to develop that other side of myself that has been hidden. And it's just the interesting journey since staying put, right? Because this is the first time I've been in a place longer than a year since 1991. So I've never had to go past that first layer of the onion, as they say, right? Because what is a relationship as a friend? I have no idea. I'm still developing that right now. When you live the transient life of camp cooking and things, you meet other transients that are moving on. So it's like, hey, your family for 2 months, and then you never see them again.
Right.
But you were like family in the bush because I took on the mom role and I'm cooking for them. They bring in the moose or the caribou, and I'd cook that up for them and things like that. So it's
wow. I bet you could write a book. I'm sure there's a book in there.
I started it.
Did you?
I just keep having a lot of sidelines. I might just have to do like short stories. I think that might be the way to go because
that would be amazing.
It's been an interesting journey.
It sounds like it. Wow.
Who knows what 2020 will bring? I have no idea.
Right. So 2020 is the year of clarity.
Oh wow.
Right?
That's awesome.
Seeing 2020 vision.
Ah.
This is what some people are coming to the conclusion of. It's like yes, everything we've worked for.
Yeah.
Up until now. There's a clear path in front of us should we choose to see it.
Yeah.
And then do you have the courage to step onto that path? Because if you do, if you say yes to it, the energy of 2020 is that will be successful.
Wow. It's fabulous.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I love
now to see if I jump on the bus or not, right?
Right. Are you going to stay in this community or are you going to go someplace else? Who knows?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
For me, it's like if there's an opportunity and it feels right, I'm gone.
Well, and the beautiful thing about what you've learned how to do through your own experiences of your own healing journey and what you can demonstrate to other people is possible because of what you've been able to do with your own healing. And these skills that you have, I mean, that what you gave to me this afternoon, that beautiful treatment, you can take that anywhere.
Exactly.
You will never not be employed as a healer. And I think that's true for anyone who steps into being a healer. I think it's something that we really need to remember.
Yeah, we take ourselves everywhere.
That's right, we take ourselves everywhere. And there will always be people who need us.
Exactly.
You know, the world's not healed yet.
No.
And when it is one day, great, we'll go off and do something else. You'll write your book.
Exactly. Next chapter.
That's right, next chapter, exactly. Well, it's interesting because our paths crossed, sort of, at the last Intuitive Arts Festival. Yeah. And yet, when you showed up here today, I mean, I hadn't actually met you because I didn't have an opportunity. It was so busy over the weekend. But then you didn't recognize my husband either, but he's the one who had your card. So we're trying to figure out, well, how did this happen then? If you didn't make contact with each other, that you were on our list of practitioners to get in touch with, to offer to come onto the show.
That's awesome. I just received an email.
Yeah.
How about this? I'm like, okay.
Yes.
I'll choose it.
I just
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome opportunity.
Well,
it's fabulous.
I love how the universe works. I love that we were meant to meet each other for whatever the reason was.
Exactly.
Right? There's a connection there that's important, that your higher self, my higher self, God's goddesses, whatever guides said,
Yeah.
okay, these two right here, okay,
Yeah.
now connect.
Exactly.
Let's see what we can do from this point forward. So.
Well, and you never know what's gonna happen from this as well, right? Like, and that's the
absolutely
joy of it all.
Yeah.
Of not knowing.
Yeah.
Just to live in possibility.
Yeah. Well, I know that for me, having now received your treatment, one of the things that was going through my business mind, as much as I was trying to get out of it when you were working on me, is, okay, so I think my students who are doing their intuitive energy massage practicums need to come and see you and receive a treatment from you, especially the reflexology, because that's a big part of the intuitive energy massage, is the work that we do on the feet.
Yeah, yeah.
So that they can heal their own feet.
Exactly.
Moving forward. And they can also recognize some of the techniques that we use in IEM that are similar to the work that you're doing with reflexology. So when I say to them, we're using reflexology and acupressure when we do this part of the massage,
they understand it because
oh,
they've had a treatment.
That's what it could feel like.
Yeah.
Right? Because I say to them, you've got to get in between the toes. You've got to massage every little joint. Because there's a chakra in every joint.
Yeah.
More than the main 7 that most people are familiar with. Right? And when disease sets in, especially systemic disease, and it slows everything down and everything gets crunchy and kind of thick and slow, it's because energy isn't flowing through every single joint in our body.
Exactly.
And that's what intuitive energy massage does. It opens up that flow. I mean, it does many things. I mean, very much like the multi-layered treatment that I just received. And you said afterwards, you can't really put it in words. You're right. You can't really put it in words. You have to experience it. Yeah.
Because it says facelift, but it's just much more. It's just not a good name for it. Because it's an all-body experience.
I know. What else could we call it? People hear facelift and they think, oh, beauty salon. That's not what this is. This is healing at a very deep level. This is deep healing.
Yeah. And plus you are going into the pituitary and the pineal and your lymph and your blood and your temples and your diaphragm. And it's so interesting. It's like all your sex organs are around your mouth, and you wonder why kissing is so fascinating.
Cool. Oh my gosh.
Because it coordinates.
Oh, wow.
Or you get wrinkles around here, something you said and wish you didn't, or didn't say and wish you had. You can form that in a subconscious wrinkle. So it's not even just physical. It could be even something your mother has said. Well, you're going to have lines on your forehead just like me. Well, imprint. Right.
That's that's the stuff we want to give back.
Exactly.
You can have that back now, Mom. I don't want that.
Yeah, so it is. It's the looking in the mirror, and it's your judgments coming back at you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so one person has a totally different point of view. Everyone has a different point of view of you from their perspective.
That's right.
So that's why you can have a bad day, and your neighbor comes by. Man, you're looking great today. And you're like, oh, actually, I'm feeling pretty bad today. Yeah. But from their point of view, you're looking great. Yeah. But just to acknowledge it and say thank you is very hard for a lot of women as well, right?
It is.
You have the excuses and stuff like that. So
yeah,
it is. You delve into the subconscious and just the women's psyche.
We're not the wings.
No, I always thought I was, right? It's like, I can get ready in 10 minutes, right?
Right.
But still, there's a lot of layers that you have to work through to get to where you are today, actually. It's like, it's very fascinating.
It is absolutely fascinating, and it's ongoing. You know, there's always new experiences that show up in our lives where we have the opportunity to go, I had a very curious response to that. I wonder where that came from.
Exactly.
And then be able to ask that question and receive the answer and do the work around whatever it is that shows up for you.
Or just be the rock in the stream and not have a right or a wrong about it. And just go, interesting point of view. Yeah. I have that point of view. It's kind of another access consciousness statement that they use. Right. Because then you don't buy somebody's point of view, their story. Yeah. Right? It's like, you want to dissolve an argument or a debate. Just go, oh, it's an interesting point of view. You have that point of view.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, okay, they can't come back from that.
That's right.
And they're like, well, I can change my point of view. And I said, what's the point?
Right.
I said, I'm not buying your story. It's like so many dimensions, and I've learned so much in these last 5-6 years that it's like, wow. I think back and it's like, interesting how things just keep growing.
Yep.
And you just keep being meldable and
just keep swimming.
Exactly. One day I'm going to get out of the water.
Yeah.
If not.
Well, I'm absolutely going to be recommending that people come and see you. I know for some of my clients, especially where, like, I loved that what you found in my feet had to do with my own lymphatic system, and picking up on the stress that I've been going through with grieving for my father's recent death and other things that are happening for my kids and that kind of stuff. It's just it's the stresses of life, and they accumulate when we don't stop. And as women, we often don't. But we don't stop to just take that minute in the day and breathe and get that glass of water or listen to what we need. Yeah. And I really want to thank you, because what I was able to become aware of, I knew I was carrying a lot in my feet. Mm-hmm. The work that you did on my feet really made it obvious to me. Yeah. That the inner guidance I've been hearing and ignoring, I better stop ignoring it. Even as a healer, we don't always listen to our own wise counsel.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
No, I'm in good company.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's part of what I teach my students is self-care, and then I'm just thinking, oh, but I'm not doing it.
Exactly.
But we do as much as we
always choose again, right?
Exactly. You can always choose again. Yeah. So as I say, I'm going to make sure that some of my students get an opportunity to experience your treatments, and I know there's so much more that you offer as well. I got a taste of it today. Yeah. How can people find out about you? How can they find you so they can experience what I got to experience today?
Well, I do have a website.
Okay.
At vanessareflexologyandbeyond.com.
Okay.
And on there you'll find like my email. There's some information on there, and my phone number. Just send me a message.
Great.
I usually set up appointments via email or text.
Okay.
I haven't got the website going with
I don't have a calendar either, don't worry
the
about
calendar.
No.
And it's like, technology is just not my forte.
Well, I like the opportunity to talk with my client first, especially if it's a new client. So I encourage people to email me. Yeah, and let's get a sense of each other, because if someone just fills in a calendar and then shows up at my door and I don't know anything about them, we're going to spend time trying to get to know each other, which we could have done over a phone call or email, and then we can start more quickly into the healing work than we would otherwise be able to do. For me, it establishes trust.
Exactly, and I'm mobile as well, so I come to you
with
my chair. So I kind of need to know who I'm dealing with before I go.
You do, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, so make sure you call Vanessa or you text or email her. That's the best way to set up an appointment with her. And you're going to want to set up an appointment with her. Yeah, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And I really enjoyed our conversation as well. And I look forward to staying connected.
For sure.
Because there's a lot of
I'm curious now on what you do. I haven't been able to experience your magic.
Well, I'm thinking I need to get you on the table, and I need to do some IEM for you.
Exactly.
Get you some trades or something. Yeah.
Anything is possible.
Anything is possible. That's right. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you everybody for being here on Magic, Mystery, and Medicine. And I look forward to seeing you on our next show. And we'll see who our next healer is going to be that we're going to be introducing to our community. And I'm supposed to say, and please subscribe. This is on YouTube. YouTube tells us we have to say this, and I'm resistant to it because I feel like you should know that. You should know that's how this works. But anyhow, it helps more people find us. It helps more people benefit from the work that we do. The more subscribers we have, so all it takes is clicking the button, and then you get to be part of the big happy family.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody. Bye. And scene.